Of a Royal Commission of Inquiry into historical abuse in state care. Others are concerned it will not hear the full story, nor will it stop future abuse. Last week, the Prime Minister and the Minister for Children announced the draft terms of reference for the Commission. They said it would investigate abuse in state care over a 50-year period from 1950 to the end of 1999. They want to know why it happened, what the impacts were, and that is particularly for Māori. At the moment, it'll only include those who the state had legal guardianship of or who were in state-run institutions, and that, of course, excludes many others. Let's speak now with Liz Tonks. She's with the Network for Survivors of Abuse in Faith-Based Institutions New Zealand. She's in the Wellington studio. Kia ora, good morning.
Good morning.
What is the reaction and what has the reaction been from the network to the announcement last week?
Well, obviously we're waiting to see the draft terms of reference that aren't available yet. But the suggestion is at the moment that the inquiry will be limited to state wards. We've provided a lot of information, and so have our survivors, to the officials in government about why that's not going to be satisfactory and help us understand the systemic issues that allowed it to occur. Obviously, the impact on the victims in our network who heard the announcement is sadness, anger and frustration. It's taking them back to the feelings of powerlessness, helplessness, lack of protection and the lack of worth they felt when they were abused.
So will you be looking to make a submission in an attempt to change the terms of reference, to widen them indeed to include some of the people you represent?
We had understood that this period of consultation would be over to that, but there seems to be a disconnect between the announcement that's been made by the Prime Minister and the Minister's statements and what the appointed chair is now saying. The suggestion is the appointed chair is restricted in what he can consult on. So we wouldn't put our victims of abuse that we advocate for through a process where they would be involved in participating in a consultation where they had no likely potential benefit from the outcome.
So the bottom line there, from Tracy Martin, the Minister, saying the inquiry is about people, not institutions, is the difficulty then that there is going to be individual cases looked at, which is obviously a good thing, but that will mean it is restricted. The inquiry will not be able to look at some of the overarching problems, some of the systemic problems.
Well, we know from all the inquiries that have happened, and we can't ignore the Australian Royal Commission. The advisors who have been giving us information and giving this government information, the advisors to that Royal Commission, are clearly saying that unless they looked at the responses of the institution when they found out abuse was occurring within them and what they did about it or whether they did nothing, we'll never understand really what the systemic issues are and be able to address them. You can't have that understanding by limiting the institutions who are involved in the inquiry or the information that you get from a limited number of survivors.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you for coming in too. That's Liz Tonks with the Network for Survivors of Abuse in Faith-Based Institutions New Zealand. It's 13 minutes to 9. That means 9 to noon's on the way. Good morning, Catherine Ryan.
Good morning, Susie. Good morning.